Donald Duck, Jose Carioca, Panchito Pistoles, the three Caballeros. They were first assembled in 1944 in the movie of the same name as part of Disney's goodwill trip to Central and South America to help the US get support for World War II. These three are a symbol of unity between these sections of the continent, but they've barely been used ever since that initial movie. Sure, Donald Duck would continue to appear in cartoons, TV shows, and movies afterwards, but what I mean is the Caballeros never appeared together all that much, only making sporadic appearances in the last 20 years. That is, until they got their own show in 2018 off of the heels of the DuckTales reboot. What up, snitches? I'm the Animaniac, and this is the legend of the three Caballeros. Before I get into this, I noticed a good chunk of you who watch my videos aren't subscribed to the channel. If you guys really enjoy these videos and want to be the first to know when a new one will be up, be sure to ring that bell after you subscribe. My next goal is 500 subscribers, and only you can help me get there. And if you would like to see these reviews early, subscribe to me on Rumble. Link is in the description and pinned comment below. After suffering a horrible streak of bad luck on his birthday, Donald Duck has some good fortune shine upon him when he receives word that he's inheriting his great-uncle's new Quackmore Institute estate. It turns out to be a cabana, and he's sharing it with two other people, Jose and Panchito. While sifting through some stuff for a yard sale for some extra cash, they meet a goddess who was trapped in a magic book. She informs them about their destiny to protect the world from the evil of an old warlock, and they set out to do just that against Donald's new neighbor, who happens to be the descendant of said warlock. Legend uses the 1950s Disney cartoon art style in both the characters and background. Definitely good looking. Now, there's only a few modern touches like smartphones and the appearance of a laptop. Not a lot that interferes with the main style of the series. The difference in this department is that the character animation is noticeably from a computer. The movement is a tad slower in terms of fluidity in comparison to those cartoons of a bygone era. And the fact that it's done in a computer is apparent in places where the characters get further away, when the goblin's ultimate weapon moves and its parts remain mostly unchanged, or when sequences from earlier are reused near the end of the season. And there are instances of 3D animation, like the boat in the underworld is noticeable, but isn't cheap. Donald Duck this time around is far less of a jerk. The world still messes with him, making him get angry, which causes the world to punish him for getting angry. It's frustrating to watch and put sympathy onto Donald. There's a moment I found incredibly frustrating to watch. In the episode where they go to the Goblin Kingdom, in their attempt to take down a monster, Jose, Panchito, and Xandra get into a nonsensical argument before suddenly apologizing, much to his confusion. No, you aren't, Donald. It's frustrating because these people are ignoring the obvious problem. Donald had been dumped again by Daisy. This was the right time, but it was a poor execution. More on how he interacts with the cabs and his anger later. While with them on missions, he would most often be able to put together plans to take down the villain. He thought of how to take down the Minotaur from Crete with Panchito and Jose, and took out the Queen of the Lava Lizards by tricking one of the Easter Island statues into breaking the lava bridge. The version of Jose in this show is still charming ladies, and his attempts to help his friends through a tough situation inadvertently makes it worse, like accidentally insulting people in their own language, and misreading an instruction manual written in Egyptian hieroglyphs. Something they establish is that he has a crush on Xandra, but they don't ever do anything with it. And Panchito this time is stupid, like forgetting to open the chute on his back upon his debut, and would often eat or talk about gross-looking food. Something that's tied to him being Mexican, Panchito has been seen on a few occasions donning a mask and cape, taking on a luchador alter ego to fight villains in a wrestling match. When they come together, they gel immediately and are expected to care about each other and the situations they're in instantly. It won't be the last time the show does this. I didn't care because they didn't devote enough time to do so, and they don't do that in a positive way throughout the season since they're too busy fighting Feldrake. Something with a similar approach came to my mind was the Ratchet & Clank reboot from 2016. The difference here was that these two had plenty of installments in their franchise for the fans to draw from, so they can mentally compensate for the scene's absence of chemistry. The three Caballeros, however, have barely been used in Disney projects. Now, if the Cabs are going to take on an evil warlock, they're going to need all the help they can get, like Xandra, the Greek goddess of adventure, and was the guide for the original Caballeros in their adventures across the globe. While they were dealing with Feldrake, she got bound to a golden atlas so he can force her to show him the secret fantasy places around the world before being trapped inside a staff. She would disappear if anyone closed the book. That would happen, and she would lay dormant for centuries. This story wouldn't make a lot of sense when put against how she was introduced, pointing her bow and arrow on the boys. Because of her absence, she's out of touch with the modern world and the advancements we've made. This show tries to make jokes about that, but they're sparse and aren't effective as she's guiding the Cabs in their fight against evil. But even then, I was able to spot two incidents where it affects her credibility. Like her encounter with the Roman gods at the Tree of Life, a place where whole worlds are made. After hyping how amazing they are and admitting she has a crush on one of them, she's surprised to find they've aged and have put away their weapons and took to tending to the world tree with garden tools. Xandra can't seem to accept that those she used to idolize have changed, even insulting them for it. But because of their PTSD, the Roman gods are made useless at the sight of giant termites when Xandra tries to get them to help our heroes against Feldrake, until she reminds them of who they used to be. They even use their gardening tools to fight the termites. While it is a surprise to find those you worship aren't what they seem, there are different ways people can contribute to the world without stepping onto a battlefield. The bigger offense in this department is when our heroes head off to Camelot to train under King Arthur. They discover that not only has he changed, but so has his training, with more emphasis put on mental and emotional strength than on physical. Donald would be the first to call it bogus, a moment that instantly makes Arthur's knights turn on him right when a magic dragon shows up to wreak havoc and steal his magic grail. This makes him equip our heroes with weapons for the fight. Arthur was onto something with his new approach. Learning how to stay sharp and improvise on the battlefield is just as important as knowing how to fight. But our heroes make that sound stupid in favor of weapons which don't do them any favors against the dragon. Keep in mind, Xandra and Arthur are the only ones who can actually fight in that situation before Arthur's knights come back in. And even then they couldn't bring it down before the girls found the scroll they summoned the dragon with and burned it. Others help out the Cabs from the cabana, like Daisy's nieces, April, May, and June, odd enough, who help them out via a magic mirror, which anyone can use to call one of the Cabs away to stop the bad guys. For the majority of the series, I couldn't tell them apart. They look similar and their different color outfits didn't help, along with the fact that they haven't had a good presence in the Disney canon. It wasn't until they were addressed individually that I could tell them apart. And I was surprised to find their roles weren't affected by the drama between Donald and Daisy. More on those two later. As the Caballeros have inherited the cabana, they also inherited the services of the property's repairman, Ari the Aracuan Bird. Before I took notes for the show, I took notes for my upcoming review of Mickey Mouse Works, and a couple of countdowns for the cartoons around that time. Since he doesn't show up that often there, I'll include how he is when talking about this version. I couldn't stand this bloody bird during those early 2000s cartoons. He's in one, but his energy is too much, despite how much he outsmarts Donald. I just end up feeling bad for the duck when he broke down in tears. The guy just wanted to take a picture of him for his lady. But here, his energy is toned down. He doesn't have a ton of screen time because he's a side character, and he's helping our heroes, thus making him more tolerable. I wish I could say the same about Humphrey the Bear. I know he's a bear rug, but he also looks like Humphrey, so I'm going to call him that. He comes up midway through the season when the cabs hide the spark of life in his mouth, which brought him to life so he can cause havoc on campus. After helping the cabs with a stroke of luck and giving them a puppy dog look, they decide to keep him sentient despite the trouble he caused before. Our heroes and their friends live next door to the show's main villains, the president of the new Quackmore Institute, Baron von Sheldgoose, and his ancestor, the enemy of the original three Caballeros, the warlock, Lord Feldrake. The Baron first meets Donald Duck when he wandered into his manor, following a condiment trail oozing out of the sandwich Donald made. He mistakes the Baron's place for the one he inherited from his great-granddad. Sheldgoose points out that the property is actually a dinky little cabana next door. Of course, he does this while being outraged by the mess Donald made, already getting him on his bad side. He doesn't make it any better when Donald and the boys try to sell everything in the cabana in a yard sale. Am I supposed to hate Sheldgoose for how he reacted to Donald when he was in his house? Maybe I'm supposed to fear for Donald losing what is currently the only home he has. Well, it half worked because I don't wholly hate Sheldgoose. As at the same yard sale, he discovers a peculiar ring. After getting swindled out of $1,000 by the girls, it takes him to a room underneath his manor where he's greeted by one of his ancestors, Lord Feldrake. Once the two are joined by his pet chimera, Leopold, Feldrake guides Sheldgoose through various attempts to kill the Caballeros and take over the world. Because Feldrake is trapped in a staff, he kinda needs Sheldgoose to help him. But it doesn't mean he won't berate him every chance he gets, even when he does something to help his cause, like convince the Easter Island statues to party when they weren't supposed to, allowing the lava lizards to escape and try and destroy the world, while he's generous with his love for Leopold. But later Sheldgoose would throw barbs back at him. By the way, Sheldgoose is called Mummy by Leopold and calls Feldrake Daddy, adding another insult to his list. The other significant story this season is the relationship between Donald and Daisy Duck. These two broke up at the start and spend all season trying to get back together. Their breakup is one of the things that added to Donald's awful day. Over the course of the season, Daisy would pop up 4 times, all of them having to do with Donald. As I was watching this, 2 questions came to my mind over and over. The first one was, why does Donald want Daisy back? It's not shown that Donald recalls any good qualities from Daisy or any happy memory of them together. It's not shown that him missing Daisy is annoying the others or affecting his performance on missions. But whenever she shows up and he finds that she likes what he does, like take her out on a fancy date, Donald gets hearts in his eyes. Xandra only encourages him to get back with her to stop him moaning about Daisy. That was during the first time she came back, and up until then, it was never shown to affect him during missions, and Xandra making fun of his woes isn't endearing. The second question was, what does Daisy bring to Donald's life? From what I saw, stress from threatening to never contact him, except where she comes over with Dapper Duck to make him jealous. But this was after she told Donald she doesn't want to see him again and for him to never contact her. That was before she leaves him a message saying she'll give him another chance. This moment makes me think she doesn't have many options when it comes to men. Daisy is a little pathetic when you think about it, but the writers seem to be dead set on getting these two together, even if it doesn't make sense. So after telling Donald she doesn't want to see him again after a failed ploy to get her back while he's in Mexico, Daisy comes back after Donald leaves her a message, because why not, and the two are teleported to a retreat called Shangri-La for them to deal with their problems. Problem with this is that Donald doesn't tell her what happened to him and what he's been doing this whole time, regardless of how Daisy reacts. And she does apologize, but she doesn't specify what she's apologizing for, so it just comes off as disingenuous. While there, the therapists discover he has an anger problem. Sure, bro. He's then taken to the reflection pool to confront his anger, which is represented as a big, ugly caricature of himself. After fruitlessly fighting it, he's knocked out and is confronted by the face in the kettle that burned his house down. He proceeds to show him everything that happened to him and link it to his anger, but most of the time, it wasn't the case. Except for his conduct while training in Camelot, a lot of what happened to him was usually because of other people, his own ignorance, or because of his anxiety about the situation. But Donald was able to overcome his anger by allowing himself to let go, so he and Daisy can leave so he can join his friends in the presumably final fight against Lord Feldrake. Once he's taken care of, the show sets up for the presidential campaign between Donald and the new Quackmore Institute's vice president, who had been gunning for the position this season. After Sheldgoose is booted out of the institute, Donald is awarded the position until the election through a tacked-on point where, because he's the descendant of his great-grandfather, he becomes president and gets Sheldgoose Manor to boot. This is something that makes Daisy like Donald even more. And they don't even wait until the doors close for Daisy to start telling him what to wear, something Donald moans about. Thus, the reset button has been pushed on their relationship. This take on the relationship between Donald and Daisy Duck isn't fun to watch, and I have no desire to see them together. Daisy brings nothing but misery, and Donald is too spineless to do what is needed. One can only feel so much sympathy for one person for so long. To end this review on a hopefully lighter note, I'm going to take a look at how this show approaches its humor. There's a fair bit of slapstick throughout. Despite how the animation is handled, it's performed okay, but there aren't any instances that stand out. But the element that stands out in this department the most are the one-liners, and just how bad they are.
Well, I don't need the money, but, you know, peer pressure.
Calling in friends to fight your battles, eh? So original.
That's what I'm doing.
Well, if you didn't care for my last trick, you're gonna lava this one.
I'm lavaing this!
Lava. Oh, now it's funny.
I'll see your samurai and raise you a sword!
Well, when the chips are down, you can always count on family.
Oh, yeah? Well, I got forefathers for you.
For liberty, for freedom. Score. You are such pests. Allow me to bug you.
Don't worry, guys. We just need a bulldozer.
As you've just heard, these aren't clever and funny, they're lazy and painful to listen to. The Cab's return in a proper series was a frustrating watch. The show expects investment without showing why the viewer should care, outside of stopping the bad guys. When they do, the reasons aren't good enough, given the situations, and the humor doesn't hit right to serve as adequate relief from those stories. Maybe these are the reasons why it was only shown in the Philippines the year before the debut of Disney+. If you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment your own thoughts on the show, this group, or how Disney treated them. If you guys would like to stay updated on future videos, be sure to follow me on Getter, Facebook, Tumblr, and DeviantArt. The links are in the description. And if you want to be the first to know when a new video will be up, ring that bell after you subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.